is something that happens rather immediately when the process begins. A few things, perhaps, potentially. For instance, if I'm in California, someone will ask me about sex. An emotional sexual question, often, as you did. But more importantly, if I say I'm coming here this evening and I will answer the questions of my devotees, and you gather, as you have, and someone will ask a question, you have just asked a question. And something has already happened. By you asking the question, it doesn't make any difference what the content is. It's amusing that it's about emotional sexual matters and that it's in California. But it's beside the point. You became a question in order to address me. I've been here for a week now in California. No one has asked me any question until tonight. I didn't say I would answer anyone's questions until today. I probably won't suggest it again for a while. I've responded to the questions of my devotees for a third of a century. I've noticed many things, of course, in all of that. One thing is that for my devotee to ask me a question, my devotee must become a question. You assume a certain asana or disposition toward me in order to speak to me, to initiate a dialogue with me. You tend to immediately become something that you would not have been if I had just come in here to sit this evening. Instead of you're sitting here now with me, turn to me. You became a question in order to relate to me. And I'm having to become an answer to relate to you. There's a pattern of association established in this exchange. That is itself the real question. The real matter worthy of address. And it has nothing to do with the content of your question otherwise. There's nothing to do with the fact that we are sitting here in California and that you asked me about true yogic intimacy. It has to do with the fact that you asked me a question at all, and that you had to identify with a certain state. that is itself in the form of a question. You had to become the ego in order to address me in the form of that question. You became yourself separately and identified with being that in order to speak to me. What if I don't? What if I don't? Well, let us say, what if I ignore the content of that question? Which I am doing, if you notice. It isn't really what you have brought to me. It's a very secondary and ordinary matter, a mundane matter. As the German prince once said in a Blackadder film I once saw about British underwear jokes, he said, for we Germans, such things are a mundane and functional matter. But you British have made an entire culture out of it. So with sex in California. The more important matter is what you became in order to speak to me. Not simply turned to me, surrendered to me. Not even asking me specifically for an instruction that directly relates to your practice of devotional surrender to me. But instead you assumed the shape of yourself separately in order to address me. It became the ego I to speak to me. On any other occasion, presumably you don't think it's appropriate to take on the form of the ego I in order to relate to me, because all you ought to do when I come and sit is turn to me, forgetting self, forgetting the content of the faculties. Entered into surrender, communion with me. To become a question, to become the ego, therefore, the one who asks the question, the separate self that asks. There is no more surrender. There is no more turning to me. Instead, you are fashioned in the form of your question, its presumed content, the ordinariness of the pattern of life with which you are associated, and that presumably is referred to in your question, something to do with sexual intimacy. I have, of course, given instruction to devotees that deals with their emotional sexual life. But I haven't come to discourse on a permanent basis about sex